What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, in our debut show of the Big 12 Weekly Roundup. And we're going to be doing some game previews as well. We got 4 great games lined up for this upcoming week, but I can't just do this by myself. We got a whole hour of action packed in here. We're bringing on, of course, Utah super fan himself, Brandon Larson. Brandon, happy to work with you again, man. Glad to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me back. Happy to be here.
Yes, sir. And of course, the man who we wouldn't be here today without him, the co-founder of the channel, Mr. Football himself, Vincent Turner. Vincent, how you doing this week?
How you doing, Mr. Landers?
Doing good, doing good. I got to ask though, Vince, before we get started, are you still reeling from the Arkansas-Memphis game from this past weekend? It was a nail biter.
Yeah, that was a classic one. Kind of showed me the University of Memphis might be a real player as a Power 5 team. Remember, Arkansas had, I believe, a 31-17 lead in the fourth quarter. For some reason, lost control of the game, and Memphis came back, scored 2 straight touchdowns. But Arkansas drove all the way down to the field to the Arkansas 7-yard line. Memphis did and fumbled. Arkansas did. So all I can say is I'm glad my home team won, but my school lost, and it looks like Sam Pittman might not have a job when we talk about coaches being fired. And I want to bring up something right quick. About an hour ago, if y'all didn't know, Mike Gundy just got fired at Oklahoma State.
I saw that. I can't believe that long of a career, and they're going to just send him out that way. I was harsh world the college football is.
Hey, so we got 12 teams that want to make the college football playoffs. We got NIL. I can understand. It's all about winning, Brandon. Because trust me, if Kyle Willingham start losing, have 2 or 3 bad seasons, you're going to come on here and be saying the same thing. Stop the madness now. Stop the madness.
I say I'm already close because we seem to have the same issues, different offensive coordinator. The scheme has changed, but the philosophy has stayed the same.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be our main event game, talking Utah and everything like that. So stay tuned. We got a bunch of great games, great show here lined up. Before we get into it, though, if you like the show, please like, comment, share, subscribe. We go live each and every week now. Facebook, YouTube. Also check out our podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to your shows. You can find us on there. Thanks to our folks over at the Believe Podcast Network. So, fellas, let's get into it. First game we're going to be reviewing here is this upcoming week. Week 5, we've got the TCU Horned Frogs taking on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Guys, how we feel about this one? Brandon, I'll give you the floor first. Let's talk about TCU and the Horned Frogs, who've looked very impressive this year. You think they're going to get the win over Arizona State this upcoming week?
I'm excited for the matchup for sure. Watching Hoover and Eric McAllister at TCU, it seems like they're just slowly developing better and better chemistry. And he's got the ability to take it long. He's got the ability to win the jump ball. I think he's got an argument to say he might be one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. He's got to go prove it, but 6'3", I think he's just a little over 200 pounds. Like he's got all the ability to do it. And that's actually kind of what's exciting, because when we get to the Arizona State side, they too have a quarterback wide receiver combo. And that was kind of what stuck out to me on this game. Was it's going to be, who can keep their matchup, or, keep their matchup going and moving the ball, but it's also who can contain and match up with, the quarterback wide receiver combo, because I think we got 2 of the best playing in this game.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Vincent, talking about the Horned Frogs, like Brandon mentioned, they've already got a pretty elite offense just a handful of games into the season. And you mentioned, one of the best combinations in football right now in the quarterback wide receiver duo. That's going to be, of course, Josh Hoover and Eric McAllister. Big plays right there. How do you think the offense is going to roll in this game, or do you think that Arizona State, the defense is up to par? Because so far, no one's been able to stop the Horned Frogs this year so far.
It's a shootout. I think it's going to be high scoring. Might even come down to who comes down to who has the ball last kind of game.
Could be. Vince, let's get your thoughts.
The days of the TCU football nation is going to be arising this Saturday. Bob Lilly, former Dallas Cowboys coming up and probably gonna watch that game. But when you talk about both teams, it's simple. I'm gonna agree with Brandon. Two young quarterbacks. One who's not getting his respect down there in Fort Worth, Josh Hoover. Can I say Heisman? Can I say Heisman? TCU is undefeated. Last week, what did he have? 379 yards. And then you got pretty boy Sam Levitt, who everybody had high on the 2026 NFL draft prospect list. And two good receivers in this game, NFL talent. Jordan
top guys.
Who've been getting a lot of really pub that's coming into the season as the best receiver, Mr. Tyson. But I tell you what, Mr. McAllister has got my eye like Leonard DiCaprio. You got my interest. Back to you, Logan.
Yeah, I mean, we know the offense is fantastic, really, for both squads. But let's talk a little bit about defense. And Brandon, I'll give you the floor for TCU first. Is the defense, we've seen, times they can get it going, but they haven't really found it just quite yet. We have a couple guys who can get to the quarterback. They have 8 total sacks on the season, so that looks solid. But let's describe this Horned Frogs defense and what do you think their key to victory will be against the Sun Devils?
Can they generate turnovers? That'll be the biggest thing, and that's kind of why you said they haven't still trying to get it going, because it's which TCU defense shows up. But that's kind of how they ended up pulling away. Who was it? It was not Arkansas.
SMU.
Was the SEC team? SMU. That's right. And then didn't they just play an SEC team right before that? It was kind of the combination of the game.
No, TCU, they've beaten North Carolina, Abilene Christian, and SMU on the season.
That's right. It was North Carolina. And in that game, it was, total dominance. And then it seemed like this last one here, it was a shootout until their defense finally forced a turnover. And then it kind of the floodgates opened from there. Like once they were able to create some space, they took off. So that's where, if they can generate turnovers, that, I think turnover battle definitely wins it. But also, like I said, I don't see many teams getting too many stops on each other. Both offenses are explosive.
Yeah, and Vincent, what are some key players you think that are going to help the Horned Frogs? We've seen so far this year, they gave up 24 points in the last game, most so far this season. So, like I said, you want to be a little bit lower, obviously, but overall not too bad on the season. Who's been helping out the Horned Frogs this year?
Bud Clark is one of the best defensive players in the country. Go back and watch the North Carolina game, first game when they played North. When he had, I believe, one interception, he had a key pick 6 in that game. And then you look at Arizona State, they got a series of great defensive players. I tell you what, my final word on the game is going to be which secondary plays the best, because you got two teams that can really throw the football. You got two young quarterbacks who want to put their name on the, I want to say, out there in the Heisman list. So it's going to come down, as I just said, between Mr. Levitt and Mr. Hoover. And which secondary plays the best, I think it's going to win this football game.
Yeah, very well could be. And Brandon, we'll get your thoughts here. Flipping over to Arizona State, 3-1 on the year. We saw they narrowly defeated Baylor this past week, 27-24, won by a field goal. But still, the momentum's high, and the Sun Devils are kind of, in a way, carrying over their momentum from last season we saw when they made the college football playoff. Obviously, I don't think they're as, they're not looking as sharp. Obviously, you lost a lot of great tools from team to team, but something about this Sun Devils team that everyone's really on the bandwagon for. And you mentioned some offensive pieces, but what are maybe some hidden gems on this Sun Devils team that either could have a big game or you think could really kind of stand out this upcoming season?
It'll be really who gets pressure. I mean, for the upcoming game specifically, I think who gets pressure and who handles pressure. Because Hoover's been impressive, but has anyone gotten in his face? And if anyone's going to do it, I'd expect Arizona State. They always live by that, live by the blitz, die by the blitz mentality. And so I expect, but it also sometimes that ends up being feast and famine. So it'll depend what they get. But I think if they can get to Hoover, I'm kind of leaning towards Arizona State way, because like I said, they got an explosive offense on the side. But on that flip side, if Hoover handles pressure, I think he ends up shredding them, because he's shown he can shred you in zone. And if he proves he's got pressure in face and makes some of the throws he did last week, then that's why I lean towards the shootout, and whoever has the ball last kind of wins.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit already, but just, you can't undermine how good Jordan Tyson has been for this offense. 31 catches, which is just, unbelievable averages so far, 357 yards and already 5 touchdowns, averaging 11 and a half yards per catch. So, I mean, he's got to be shooting up draft boards, you would think, right?
Agreed.
Yeah, just with how well he's played. And Vincent, we'll get your thoughts here on the Sun Devils. Looking good so far this season. Narrowly beat Baylor, but hey, sometimes you're going to have those close games against teams where people think, oh, yeah, you should blow them out, but you barely squeak by and get the win. But hey, win's a win at the end of the day, and the Sun Devils 3-1 coming into this game here against number 24 TCU. You think they can pull off the upset?
No question about it. This Arizona State team 2 weeks ago had a loss to Mississippi State on the road. They were ranked, got knocked out of the polls. This is a good team. Remember, good team. They made the college football playoffs last year and came a couple of plays of advancing in the college football playoffs. And I like Kenny Dillingham as a coach. And I think if I had to take a choice in this football game, I think it's going to be very close. I think Arizona's going to win a close game over TCU.
Okay, yeah. And Brendan, let's get your final scores on this one, or who you think is going to get the win in the end.
35-38 Arizona State.
Okay. Yeah, high-scoring game. Definitely think it'll go that route. For me, I will go with the TCU Horned Frogs getting the win this one. I think it's going to be a close one. Also, I'll go final score 34-31. Once again, I think the points are going to be coming in bunches for this game. Explosion, big plays, big playmakers. Check this one out. Once again, this is going to be a little bit of a different kick time here. It's going to be on Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. You can check that game out on Fox between TCU and Arizona State. So let's keep it moving here, guys. Let's go over to our next game we have scheduled, and that is going to be the Arizona Wildcats taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. Good matchup here, fellas. Looking forward to this one. Brandon, let's get your initial thoughts on this 7 p.m. kick on Saturdays when this game's going to take place. Let's talk about the Wildcats first and foremost. What do you like about them coming into this matchup?
I like that Noah Fafita seems to be kind of finding himself again. He seemed to have got, more in rhythm in that last game where kind of had a shaky start out the side, but that's kind of where it seems like these two teams are two different, trajectories in that regard. He seems to favor Javon Watley seems to be his favorite target, but looking at the numbers, it's like I think they need no one needs to remember get back to having fun playing football kind of thing, because man, last year when he was putting up some of them numbers, I just think they haven't found that rhythm yet. But I mean they've got pieces on it, so I'm not it's kind of just fire waiting to strike kind of thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned, their quarterback, Noah Fafita, someone who, a lot of people were talking about coming into the season is, a guy to watch out for, someone who could maybe be on, I don't know if I'd say Heisman, but definitely some, one of the top quarterback, rankings coming into this year. And he hasn't looked, like I said, he's kept it clean. No interception so far this season, 6 touchdowns. Has been sacked 7 times. And but one thing, like I say, you'd like to see a little bit higher is the completion percentage, only 59% flat. If he can increase that, that would obviously just make it better and better if he can just get that higher and higher. But like I said, they got some really good weapons. Do you think the running game is going to improve this upcoming week? Because we've seen that obviously, like I said, you want to air it out, but you want the running game to pick up the pieces when it's a little bit sluggish on offense. And like I said, they have 6 rushing touchdowns on the season, but half of those come from the quarterback and Fafita when he's scrambling, just getting into the end zone. So is the running game going to take a step up this week, or do you think they're going to be kind of on the trajectory we've seen so far all season?
I think it kind of stays similar because none of their dudes, as I was watching, no one sticks out dang, that's a guy, he's dangerous to grab. Other than Fafita, he's probably their most dangerous guy on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, unless somebody emerges and decides they're like, hey, I want to be the lead guy as the running back there. I don't feel like anybody's secured the job themselves. That's why it seems like it's by committee over there.
Yeah, and Vincent, I'll flip this one over to you, talking about the Wildcats with their out there in Arizona. Brandon mentioned Javon Watley. Wide receivers look great this year. 13 catches, 237, 2 touchdowns. But if you look down the rest of the list, no one else even has double-digit receptions or 100 yards on the year for Arizona. They kind of spread the love out there. Obviously, you got your number one target, but then everyone else just kind of gets a piece of the pie, so on and so forth. If you're Iowa State, how do you defend that?
I think what you need to do is that there's a lot of balance with Arizona's offense this year. Remember, Arizona is 3-0. They're coming off a 4-8 record from last year. And Mr. Fieta, hope I'm not butchering his name. I'm gonna call him Noah F. He struggled last year, and his favorite target went on to the NFL, Mr. McMillan, who's making plays with the Carolina Panthers now. But I like the Arizona team from up to bottom, and they became a more balanced team. And a couple of weeks ago, they had a very, very impressive win over a Kansas State team that came into the country nationally ranked. Back to you, Logan.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Arizona, they've, like I said, they've had their ups, they've had their downs, but they've looked really good this season. Like I said, it nearly got their win total from last year. So they're looking good in that regard. And Brandon, let's talk about their defense. I mean, they're pretty balanced all over. They've got 8 sacks on the year. They've got 5 interceptions. Who are some guys that stick out to you that say, hey, they're doing good so far. If they can keep it up, they'll definitely be, higher and higher come the NFL draft in 26.
Was it? I can't remember. Was it if he's a safety or like their cornerback? I forget his name too, but he seemed to be making plays on the back end. But I'm trying to remember his name now. I did not write that one down on it. But that's where I feel like the defense. What's his name?
Tay Brown.
Brown. That's right. Yeah. He and I mean, he seemed to be all over the field. Sideline to sideline, dropping guys behind the line. But then he had a pick on it too, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Against Kansas State a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So I mean, I think he's probably stuck out. And then I mean, I think their D line has looked better than years past for Arizona. If that's like sometimes Arizona's always had like a undersized D line and gets pushed around in the line of scrimmage, and it seems like they've held their own this year.
Yeah, the Wildcats have definitely looked sharp this year. They have some good pieces, and Vincent, you talked about Tay Brown, the linebacker, but Genesis Smith, hell of a ball player as well as Dalton Johnson. They're another linebacker, putting some good work in. Who are some guys you've got circled and right on your notepad over there that you really like watching?
As I said, Tay Brown, Genesis Smith, the safety. Those two guys stick out. I think they lead the team in tackles. And overall, when you look at this Arizona defense, remember last year they gave up a lot of points. They were 4-8. I'm gonna hit that fact one more time. Mm-hmm. This year they're 3-0. And go and look at the performance they had a couple of weeks ago against Kansas State. How they slowed down Avery Johnson, their quality quarterback.
Yes, sir. They've looked good this year. And let's talk about their opponents now. Heading over, Iowa State, the Cyclones, currently ranked number 14 in the nation right now. Perfect 4-0. Brandon, I mean, this is a team that if, you look at their schedule and you haven't had that one dominant performance. Obviously they got the, I believe 55-7 against South Dakota. But other than that, I mean, 24-21 win against Kansas State, big win to start the year. Follow that up after South Dakota with a narrow 16-13 win against Iowa. And then you win against Arkansas State 24-16. What are some of the issues with Iowa State? Because, yes, they keep winning these ball games, but obviously if you're a fan, you don't want close games. You want them, to win it by multiple scores. So what do you think the issue Iowa State has had this season?
I mean, I think it's just finding consistent rhythm. And then there's nobody, I mean, other than it's a tight end heavy scheme and I think the tight ends have the most tight ends on the offensive side. Nobody else has really stepped up and been another dude. Because I think the main tight end was Ben Brahmer, but opposite them, who else? They need somebody else to really stretch the field. I think to stay consistent on offense because they're able to get things going, but then once a defense gets a feel for kind of what their game plan is, they don't have anything to kind of change. I think that's where they run into a little bit of like spinning the tires kind of thing. And then, they end up kind of fighting out close games at the end. And like kind of similar with the Kansas State game week 1 almost. I mean, they started out hot, then they kind of sputtered, and then, they got pushed by Kansas State. So they had to figure it out again. And I just think it's the consistency. When I look at it, they need another guy to step up on the opposite side. I don't know who it's going to be, But I mean, so far right now, they're across the boards. There's nobody else that sticks out.
Yeah, they like I said, there's a team that they don't really have a true number one target. If you look at the numbers for the receiving core, right? Brett
Mm-hmm.
Eskeldin, 7 grabs, 162. Gabe Burkle, 149, 10 catches. Xavier Townsend, 7 grabs, 132, and then you mentioned Benjamin Brahmer, 14 grabs for 109. So I mean, they're getting the ball everywhere. I mean, the opposing
Yeah, and that's what I
defense is
put too. Is they
struggling
spread
to
it
keep
out.
up. Yeah, they are not afraid to, credit to quarterback Rocco Beck for finding all of his options out there and using them
Mm-hmm.
to the fullest advantage. But they just kind of, in a way, struggle to get points, right? They elongate drives, but they just seemingly can't get in the end zone. With the best of them, they're trying, but they just can't get there quite yet. But Brent, I want to keep it with you here, talking about Iowa State, and let's go to their defense, right? If you look at them, got seven total sacks on the season, followed up by 14 passes defended and 4 INTs as a unit. Who are some guys you like on that side of the ball that you think could help out and get this win this upcoming week?
On Iowa State, what was their pass rusher? I'm trying to remember number. I'm just pulling up their roster right now. What was it?
Well, they got Tom Attila McDonough, who's leading them in sacks. He's got 2 on the year. You got guys like
Yeah, and then
Marcus.
he's leading in pressures as well. Like it wasn't just sacks, but he's forcing early throws. I mean, I was impressed by them, and then I think was it one of their cornerbacks.
Was it Marcus Neal, Jameson Patton, Caleb Bacon, Cooper Ebell? I mean, all
What
of them.
number is Neal?
Let me find here. Marcus Neal, he's the defensive back. He wears number 31.
Yeah, I had 31. Their safety. Because he's playing center field. He's their deep safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I was like I said, I'm looking at him. He's got the ability to control the middle of the field, and then their pass rush is done. No, I mean not outstanding by any means, but I think it's held its own to at least create pressure on the quarterback, forcing early throws.
Yeah, I think those are, like I said, some good names to watch out for over there. And Vincent, let's go to you now. Going back to the offensive side of the ball here with Iowa State. So, I mean, we mentioned that they spread the love to everyone. A bunch of guys have over 100 yards receiving on the year. But let's talk about the running game. Do you think that is the kind of one red flag you look at with this Iowa State team? And you say, all right, if we can improve this, we can get some more production, then we definitely get more points on the board. And instead of getting these close wins, we win with a more comfortable lead.
I think with Iowa State, me personally, they're 4-0, 14th in the country. I don't care how they win in games. They undefeated, and right now they're in first place in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. As far as their running game, I think it's been probably one of their strengths. A young man who didn't get a lot of respect last year is Carson Hansen. Remember that name. 252 yards on the year, 4.7 yards a carry. And when you look at Iowa State as doing something, it's not how you win, as long as you keep winning every week. Matt Blair is coming out of his grave, outstanding linebacker for Iowa State, the days of Johnny Majors. And I love their head coach, Matt Campbell. He's a guy that stayed committed to that program. When Iowa State started having success, when he first got there was a lot of big-time schools coming at him. He decided, hey, I'm going to stay right here at Iowa State and I'm going to build something. And right now, the Cyclones are 14th in the country. They might have not played their best football yet, but to be 4-0, top of your division in the Big 12, the major goal at the end of the year is get to the college football playoffs and be one of the top 12 teams, baby. I love me some Cyclones, and I love the head coach, Matt Campbell. Back to you, Mr. Landis.
They're on the outside looking in right now, right? Just a couple spots away, but we know the year is still young for Iowa State. And like I said, don't matter if you win by 1 or win by 14 or 21, you still win, still undefeated. And like you've said, Vince, they're still top of the Big 12 here. But I want to get your thoughts on the Cyclones and their defense, because they can get it done. They got some ball hawks in the back. They also got some tanks up front, getting to the quarterback, stopping the runs, and just putting pressure on the QB. But what do you like about the Iowa State Cyclones and how they'll match up against Arizona State in their passing attack?
They got one of the best linebackers in the country, and they got a hell of a safety in Jameson Patton. 21 tackles on the year, 1 pass defense, 1 INT. And listen for this name. He got hurt last year, and that's why Iowa State ended up losing a couple of games at the end of the year. But they did get to the Big 12 championship game. And I want to know if they had him, their defense would have played a lot better. Remember this name on Saturday. Caleb Bacon. Caleb Bacon. like you eat bacon in the morning.
That's it.
He's
Yeah,
a real
okay.
good football player. 19 tackles on the
Remember
year.
the bacon.
There it is.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there it is. There it is. He's cooking this year, and I know they love him out there in Iowa. So we'll see how this one goes. Let's get our thoughts here, our predictions. Who do we think will win this ball game? Brandon, I'll start with you. You got Arizona or Iowa State?
I like Iowa State. Rocco Beck's he's Dylan. He's doing a good job, taking what the defense is giving him, spreading the ball out. I mean, like we talked about, I'd like to see a little more consistency on it. But then on the flip side, I think Iowa State brings a little more defensive firepower to the table as well. I mean, I had a couple dudes sticking out. Smith, I think the safety for Arizona. I think he leads in tackles and pass breakups, and then I believe it was interceptions as well. Like so, he's somebody to watch. And then it was Kennedy would be their linebacker, but kind of other than that, I feel like Iowa State had just more playmakers, at least known ones. And so I mean I'm going Iowa State. I like it 31-28.
Okay, close game. And Vincent, do you think there's an upset brewing, or do you think the Cyclones are going to run through the Wildcats this week?
The Cyclones are going to stay undefeated. They're going to go 5-0 in the year. I expect they're going to win that football game 24-17.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go with a similar score. I'll go 28-17 in favor of Iowa State as well. Pulling off the win here against a tough opponent, not in Arizona, but I just don't think they're quite there yet. But I think it's going to be a good matchup. Once again, 7 o'clock kick on Saturday night for this one. Guys, let's keep it moving here on to our third game of the afternoon. We got the nightcap here. 10:15 kick. If you got nothing to do on Sunday morning, you stay up and you watch this one. It's going to be a good matchup, obviously. We see the BYU Cougars going on the road to Boulder, taking on, of course, Deion Sanders-led Colorado Buffaloes. And Brandon, let's talk about this ball game first and foremost. I don't know what, BYU just the past couple of years, they've just always been consistent. You always see them in the top 25, fighting for a spot, near the tops here of their division. And they just are becoming, in a way, a model of consistency we've seen here in the last handful of seasons. Comparing that to Colorado, who everyone was talking about the offseason, how they're going to look now that Shadur and Shiloh and a bunch of Travis Hunter, a lot of other players gone from that team. And, we see BYU's look good on the year. Colorado, we see they're even 2-2, but still a formidable opponent as we come into this night game at home for Colorado. But let's talk about these Cougars first and foremost. And what have you liked about their game so far this season, currently ranked at this moment number 25 in the country? Thoughts on the Cougars?
Well, I mean, it starts with Sataki. He's old school football, punch you in the mouth, and if we hit you harder than you're going to hit us, you're going to have a hard time operating on the field, as effectively as you usually do. And I mean, you can see that in the way they play. Looking at the linebackers that BYU brings, they got that old school mentality. Like how many linebackers you see nowadays with them with the neck roll still, and
Yes.
I mean they're running around sideline to sideline just crushing people. And I haven't actually looked at the size exactly, but they got to be 6'4", 6'5". Like them are big linebackers that BYU's bringing to the table. So I think that just backs their mentality that comes down from their head coach. I gotta say it, but it's like BYU's been on track ever since they started pulling all of Utah's former coaches, and they became Utah South. Because man, I see a lot of that Utah mentality of like, we may not be the most talented roster, but we're gonna come in and hit you the hardest, and you're gonna remember you're gonna feel it when you play us. And I mean, like I said, I can see that from BYU, and I admire it. I mean, man, they have been a force so far. And then on the offensive side, their quarterbacks, like that last game, dude, he was growing up right before my eyes. Like I was just like, oh crap. I mean, it's good for them, but watching it's what you want to see from your freshman. But he was hitting some throws that I'm just like, man, that proves he has it. Next step, he's got to prove he can do it in with pressure in his face. But I've been impressed by what I've seen out of BYU, and that hurts to say that.
Yeah, but you talked about their quarterback. Great name also, and Bear Bachmeier. I mean, come on. You can't get a whole lot better than that for a quarterback. But like I say, he looked great in his last game. He looked good all season, honestly. for the Cougars. And he's got two formidable opponents there, or excuse me, two formidable teammates on the outside in the receiving core with Chase Roberts, their wide receiver, top wide receiver, and Carson Ryan, who's a really good tight end, makes explosive plays. Guys, averages 16.2 yards per catch. He's got 2 touchdowns on the season. And the thing with BYU is we haven't really even touched on it at this moment, Brandon, but talk about their running core. LJ Martin, Sion Ma. Hey, the Bear can get it done too. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year just running it in. So they are kind of getting that, they can beat you through the air, but they can also beat you on the ground too.
That's just what I was going to say is they also they've got weapons and threats in the receiving game, but their mentality is they want to pound the rock. They've got, running back by committee, but it seems like each running back's got their own skill set and they complement each other well. Martin seems like the shifty, faster guy to get you around the edges, and Moa seems like the guy that's going to put his shoulder down in the fourth quarter and run through you. So I love a good 1-2 punch there, and like I said, that stems from the old Utah ways of having the old former cornerback, but that's their mentality. They want to pound the rock and control the clock.
Yeah, and let's talk about their defense for a little bit. I mean, they've looked great so far this season against 3 teams who, look, they should have beat these teams, and they did beat these teams. They beat Portland State, shut them out 69-0. Great way to start the year. He followed up with a dominant 27-3 win against Stanford at home, and then their last game against East Carolina, you won 34-13. So, man, hey, you're 3 games deep, and your defense only allowed 16 points. I don't care who you're facing. That's still impressive.
Yeah, it was late in the fourth quarter that they gave up their first touchdown of the season to ECU. So hats off to them. That's impressive. There's nothing to it. Like, the front's been dominant. Tavavasu has continued and looks like taking the next step from how he played at Utah last year. And so he's looking like he's anchored their defensive line. And then, like I said, them linebackers, them dudes, what is it, Kelly, and then I can't remember the other dude's name now. I just know they both got like a neck roller. Like, they just look so old school. It reminds me of like 80s football that way. And then who is it? I can't remember their safety's name.
Is it Raider Demooney?
Yeah, Demooney, because I want to say he's brothers with the Demooney, the linebacker at Utah. Either brothers or cousins, something like that. But yeah, I feel like they've got playmakers at every level of the football field, linebacker, secondary, and it's they're feasting over there right now because it seems like everybody's making plays, everybody's getting a strip sack or getting an interception. Like, I was watching that game, and obviously you guys know who I was rooting for, but I was just impressed by how they were playing because I was like, dang, they're playing some top-notch football right now.
Yeah, they're perfect 3-0. They have them ranked 6th in the in their conference, which there's a lot of really solid teams we're facing. So in this division, but Vincent, let's go and talk about BYU with you, man. Let's talk about through the air, by the land, they get points up on the board and they get them in bunches too. But let's talk about the offense. Who you like over on that side?
I like the receiver Chase Roberts. I think he's a real good football player. I think he got some real decent NFL talent. 11 receptions on the year, 185 yards, a touchdown. When you look at BYU, as Brandon just said, this is a team hard-nosed, going to play one way, physical, going to try to run the football. They play very solid on defense. This is a very good, impressive BYU team that's been winning consistently for the last 3 to 4 years. And they are a team that could, at the end of the year, could surprise us and be in the Big 12 playoff and win the league and then be in the playoffs as a 12 team. This is a very good football team.
Yeah, they've got some good weapons on offense. And talking about the defense, Brandon, Brandon loves the look of the guys, Vince. But I want to get your thoughts on the playmakers out there, the linebackers, the safeties who are putting in work. They can get it done, in any level on defense. They can get sacks, they can get picks. They could right now. They're rolling. They're hitting all their cylinders so far early in the year.
Oh yeah, that's where it's famine. Oh, did you say Vincent? Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to a second.
Go ahead. You said, did you say me or you wanted Brandon?
Yeah, Vince, go ahead.
Jack Kelly is one of the best linebackers in the country. As Brandon was saying, the neck roll guy, look what he's done this year. 3 sacks, 13 tackles on the year. let's be honest. BYU is not the days of Jim McMahon, Robbie Bosco. They throwing the football all over the place. Steve Young. They've really changed the culture out there and turned it into a program that you can respect now on both sides of the ball. This is a very good BYU program. Back to you, Logan.
All right. Well, I think BYU, we've talked about them. They've got, they're stacked up and down the roster, offense, defense. But let's head on out to the mountains, talk about Colorado and the Buffaloes, 2-2 on the season. It seems like they finally have gotten their quarterback situation figured out. Going to go with Caden Salter at least for the time being. But Brandon, let's get your thoughts right now. The Buffaloes currently 2-2 on the year. How do you think the offense is going to shape up in this game? How do you think it's going to look?
I mean, it kind of depends on which offense shows up. We've seen two different sides of Colorado. We've seen it when they've been clicking on offense and gotten it going. And then we've seen it discombobulated, and we've seen them work all the way to their third string quarterback because they were, trying to find production somewhere. And I think it was kind of, they for a minute thought they were like, oh, the third string's our guy, and then I think they kind of got grounded again. And so I mean, I definitely think they got things going, but Slater's a rookie, or he's a freshman, and so there's going to be growing pains there, and I expect BYU to kind of exploit that because they're going to put pressure on it. They're going to see what it can do.
The one thing I liked about Colorado so far this year compared to last season, right, when you look at the two teams, and, I mentioned in the prologue how a lot of guys obviously left to go to the NFL, go to our team, et cetera, is, Brandon, talk about the running game so far for Colorado, because whenever Salter's in there, he is their top rusher, low scramble from pressure, but hey, they are getting a lot more points and a lot more yards on the ground this year compared to what I've seen last year. What are your thoughts on the running game?
I mean, massive improvement. I think you would almost expect it if you have a running backs coach, and what is it, Marshall Folks over there at running backs coach, right? That was the addition this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, I mean, when you look at the Hall of Fame roster that they have in coaching staff, I mean, you almost expect superior play everywhere. But yeah, they identified a weakness last year. They knew their run game was suspect, and I do think they've fixed it this year. Slater's much more mobile than Shadur, though. Like, I don't know that Shadur was really ever looking to run first, and it seems like if Slater gets through, I can't quite tell if he's getting all the way through his reads or if it's like 1-1-2 and I'm running, but he looks to his legs faster than Shadur did, which, I mean, that's probably why he leads in rushing in that regard. But then it's that dual threat of, you have to respect on a read option. You got to stay home as an edge, and you can't just collapse. Where last year, let's be honest, if it was a handoff, you collapsed on the running back because you weren't fearing for Shadur to, rip off a read option and really break your back. He did a few times and would do it, in timely spots, but it wasn't like a prominent threat that you had to be like, we got to make sure that we stay home on Shadur, where I think Slater's a little bit more, you stay home or he will, break your back that way.
Yeah, let's flip it over to the defensive side here for Buffaloes. And, they're getting some good pressure. They've got, I believe, 6 sacks on the season. You've got Keaton Wade and Arden Walker leading the way. Both those gentlemen have 1.5 sacks. Combine that, give it 3. That gives you half of them on the season. But what I want to highlight here, Brandon, is talk about the defensive core, the backfield, guys in the cornerbacks and the safeties. They've got 18 passes defended on the season, 2 interceptions, but still, they are just they're learning from Dion. He's giving them the tricks out there.
I was going to say,
yeah,
hey, like, is the head coach a former D-back?
I think so.
Yeah,
talk about that though.
I definitely see it. They're an attacking style secondary, though. Like, the ball's up there. They're leading in pass defenses, but you can see they're getting their heads around and trying to find the ball to make a play on it. Which, I mean, that's where, like I said, is their head coach Deion Sanders, because I mean, that dude, he's one of the best to man a corner out there on an island out with a wide receiver. But then, yeah, I've seen that mentality cross over, but I also credit it to their defensive line, and they're getting a lot more pressure and holding up in the run game. So it's forcing quicker throws. They're not having to guard as long. And, if pressure comes, it's easier to run with a wide receiver for 3 seconds compared to 7 seconds.
Yeah, no question about that. And Vince, let's head over to you. Talk about this Colorado team who, on the like I said, they're 2-2. You've had 2 wins where they look solid, and 2 losses where really only one of them was a little bit rough. They had the close loss to Georgia Tech, 7-point loss, 27-20 to kick off the year. The other loss was against Houston, 36-20, but coming off an impressive 17-point victory over Wyoming, 37-20 in that one. So it seems like Brandon said in the beginning, which version of this Colorado offense are we going to get? Are we going to get the one that maybe has a slow start? Now they've gotten the quarterback situation, it seems, right? I'm putting that in parentheses. It seems they figured out with Caden Salter. You think now this is where the Buffaloes kind of make that big push in this week 4 action? They can possibly get an upset. Talk about their offense.
I think sometimes when I watch coaching staffs and I watch coaches, they tend to panic. Caden Salter transferred from Liberty, formerly a University of Tennessee commit, was a 4-star out of Texas, put up a lot of numbers at Liberty. Then played well against Georgia Tech. That was a winnable game. I understand that. Then he came back the next week. Colorado plays Delaware. Okay. He struggles. Then he put a young man in the game, a 5-star freshman who I saw play a lot down here where I live in Douglasville, Georgia. And Logan, you live in the area by the name of Juju Lewis.
That's it.
He didn't get he struggled in that game against Delaware. The 3rd string quarterback comes off the bench, has an outstanding game, and win 31-7. Now, did that warrant him? I believe the young man, Rusty Staub, ability to come in and be a starter. In my opinion, I've never been a head coach, never will probably be a head coach at my age, but I think you still kind of stay with the guy that you brought in as a transfer, or you go with the guy that was highly ranked that threw for damn near 12,000 yards in high school. Well, you saw what happened. Colorado struggled, and he lost to a good Houston team. No disrespect to the young man, Mr. Staub, but the guy been in your program 3 years, and he was a backup. And that's a reason why he 3rd string. And it was a reason why you went out there and you got Mr. Slater in the portal and you got Mr. Lewis. So to me, from a coaching standpoint, I didn't understand it about Deion. Looked like he panicked. Now you went back to Mr. Slater and you saw what happened. You had a very impressive 37-20 win. Young man, I think, had over 100 yards rushing, 100 yards passing. And plus, Colorado has some nice pieces. They got the number 1 receiver in the portal, Cease Brown. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at it like this. You got a real good BYU program that's coming up to Boulder. This game is very critical, very critical. You can't lose no more games, Colorado, or you're going to be out of the college football playoff mix. Because let's be honest, that's what Deion is coaching Colorado for. Matter of fact, any good team out there, everybody across the country, let's put it out there.
Yeah, that ain't the goal. Why you coaching?
Yeah, you're trying to get into the playoffs.
Yep.
So BYU has house money. They win in this game, they go 2-0 in the Big 12. Colorado lose this game, you go 1-2 in the Big 12, and all I can say is bowl action at the end of the season. But this is a real good Colorado team that's got NFL talent. DJ McKinley is one of the top cornerbacks that's playing on the outside to replace Travis Hunter. He's going to be a high NFL draft pick in the 1st round. So when I look at this football game, I look at it like this. Very interesting football game. Remember how BYU handled Colorado in the Alamo Bowl last year. So you got to think Colorado is going to come in with a little more chip on their shoulder. But it all comes down to the coaching, man. In the quarterback play of Mr. Salter for Colorado. He plays well, it's going to be a good game. He doesn't play well, BYU is going to probably win by 10 points. Back to you, Mr. Landers.
Okay, and Brandon, let's round this one out here. What's your final score for this game? Did BYU get the win, remain ranked, or do you think that Colorado will kind of piece it all together and get the big upset win in this week's action?
And one tidbit I wanted to add to Vincent's as well, with Deion going through his quarterbacks, I think he relit the competition at quarterback. Slater felt like he was he was the big guy in the transfer portal, and Deion reminded him that results matter. And I think he relit the fire of like, hey, yo, you still are playing for your job every snap you're out there. And I gotta commend him for that, because sometimes I wish Whittingham would do that just to light a fire.
There you go.
Like
I didn't look at it like that. I was looking at he playing musical chairs, but I take
no, he showed that it's like, I don't care who you are, where you came from. Here's my third string guy. He got a chance, because what a third string guy performed. He did perform, and they went with him the next game, and then he got humbled. But it's like, what if he Brock Purdy'd it and just took it? Well, then Slater'd be right in the bench right now. But what he did is he relit the competition and reminded those guys that, iron sharpens iron. So get at it.
Okay, but Brandon, before we move on to the next game, when he made that move, that was against Delaware, a small school. Okay, I'm just saying.
But a small school they were struggling against. He needed change. So it relit the fire.
But listen to me. You the football knowledge guy to Utah. Come on, baby boy. Come on. You don't put the third string against Houston, baby. And you saw what happened. You give us a sleep.
It did work.
You give us
no, I agree. But what did it do? It lit a fire under the guy that felt like that felt like that was truly his job.
All right.
And that's what I think Dion was going for. Not, whoever, let's be real though, whoever performed, if third string would have come out and lit up Houston, we'd be talking about what's he doing and why was he third string. So that's why I got to give credit to credit due. Dion, you don't get results on the field. Dion made action to change it up. And sometimes it doesn't work, but doing something is better than doing nothing.
There we go. We'll end it with that one. I'll go final score for me. I'll go BYU in this one. I'll go final score. Let's go 13. Let's go 30 for the Cougars, and for Colorado Buffaloes, I'll go 17. I'll go final score for that one. 13-point swing on that. All right, Brandon, we've been waiting for it. I know you've been waiting for it. Chopping at the bits. Final game. We're
on my prediction on the other game, 28-10 BYU. Let's be real. This team's improved in some areas, but they do not have 3 NFL wide receivers and an NFL quarterback leading them. And that team got whooped by BYU, and BYU looks better this year.
All right. Final game we're going to talk about here, of course, you know them, you love them or hate them, depending on the week. Brandon, the Utah Utes taking on West Virginia and the Mountaineers, 3:30 p.m. kick. I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'm just going to give you the mic, and you can get your rants and frustrations out here as we got a little bit less than 10 minutes on the clock.
First and foremost, we got to find deep threats. We got to find some receiving weapons that can extend the field. They're like the dink and dunk. It's great you got the 3-yard out route, but on 3rd and 8, that doesn't cut it. So they got to find deep threats and get back on track in the offense that way. I think a more aggressive game plan. It's been an Achilles heel of Whittingham, but it's the afraid to lose the game on offense. So it's like, we'll control the game on offense, run the ball, control the clock, and win the game on defense. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired of it, but I want the mentality of we're gonna score on every drive, and our defense is gonna stop you from scoring on every drive. But because I say it all the time, but if we could just bring the intensity and match the intensity that the defense plays on the offensive side, that's the recipe for a national championship team. And that's been Whittingham's Achilles heel that way. But man, Dampier, I don't know what to make of it. Sometimes he's inconsistent in the passing game, but then he throws up one of the best deep balls I've ever seen at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That play got called back, but that deep ball, it showed, it backs the safeties up. It shows the ability that way. But then again, that's where I knocked the approach on the last game, because it was, if your strength versus strength, I would game plan around that, not expect to game plan through that. But I don't know, I guess that's new school mentality to old school mentality. I think I expect the Utes to dominate in the trenches again. I don't think there's anybody else, maybe BYU's defense, but I don't think there's anybody else in the Big 12 that can win in the trenches like Texas Tech's D-line did. But also, what did they put, $20-something million to that D-line? So I guess we'll call that money well spent, in that regard.
Yeah.
And what doesn't go seen, I guess, is this game was close with 7 minutes left. So it was I mean, the Utes defense doesn't get the credit that they brought because they were flying all over the field. John Henry Daly, I think he's still leading the country in sacks right now, but he's proved that he's got 3 very effective pass rush moves, and he plays those off of each other. He'll set a tackle up, he'll go around the edge and get the tackle trying to get that extra step out, and then he'll plant his foot and bull rush him right back into the back of the quarterback. And then he'll get him starting to plant for that bull rush, and he'll spin right around him. And he rotates through those 3 moves. And by the end of the game, it was 79 to Texas Tech. You could tell he was done. He's like, I'm done facing this guy. Like, and I mean, I think he struggled because their tackle was 6'8", and John Haley, his ability to bend the edge, he'd bend the edge, and you'd have nothing to get your hands on to try and block him. So I was impressed by the defense. They literally, they brought it and kept bringing it until they had no gas in the tank to keep bringing it, I guess, in essentially a way. But let me throw this out there. 7.5 minutes left. We're down by 10 points, and you opt to punt it. At that point, I felt we conceded the game, because at that point, you're really punting with 7 minutes left, thinking you're going to get 2 stops and 2 scores to win the game. That frustrated me there, because I'm like, the game was in reach, even as bad as we played, but then we chose to punt it and count on our defense to get stops after they'd been out there all day. But man, they got playmakers. Smith Snowden locked up the Ekin dude. He didn't have a big game, and he'd been Texas Tech's #1 playmaker. And then Lander Barton, he's another top linebacker in the league. That guy is a beast.
Yeah, they got some really good players on that side, no doubt. And Vince, I want to get your thoughts here. Talk about Utah and how they can kind of pick themselves up, dust themselves off after a tough, 24-point loss last week. They've been flying high up till that point until, Texas Tech kind of crashed the party. What are your thoughts on Utah coming into this matchup on Saturday?
Real quick, because we up against it. I'm gonna say this. To me, Utah is a very good football team, well coached, got a lot of talent. I still think one of the top 2 talented teams in the Big 12. To me, it's all about Mr. Dampier. He plays well. Utah's a top 5, top 10 program in the country. He doesn't play well. Utah struggles. That's the bottom line. Because Utah, like Mr. Daly, the linebacker, I think he's going to play in the league one day. Mr. Barton, his brother's already playing for the Tennessee Titans. So Utah has everything in place. But as I tell people all the time, on any level, whether it's high school, middle school, 7-on-7, the NFL, college, your quarterback has to be the best player on the team. Yep. And Mr. Dampier took 2 picks last week and just didn't play well. Now, that's what surprised me in the whole football game. After he got off to a hot start and really played like a Heisman Trophy winning opening game against UCLA.
Yep.
That's my take. But getting real quick, Utah is only 1 game. You played against a very good football team, as Mr. Brandon said, they spent a lot of money in the NIL. It was like a playoff game. But just take care of your business. Take 1 game at a time. And I guarantee you, if Mr. Dampier plays at a level, Utah will be in the Big 12 championship game.
Okay. Brandon, let's get your bullet mic. You dropped the mic. Brandon, let's get your bullet points here on West Virginia and if you think they got a shot on Saturday.
One quick I wanted to add to his Dampier needs effective plays to be effective. That's where, like I said, you can't call a B-level game plan and expect A-level results. And so that's where I'm kind of like, when I look at it, Dampier executed the game plan in front of him. It just was a very conservative game plan. Yeah. And I want to see him taking more shots and trying to move the ball vertically downfield. Right. But yeah, I agree with that. That Dampier will take this team as far as he can
carry, basically. Yeah. I get you on that. But let's talk about West Virginia real quick. We got just a few minutes here. Just any key players you want to look out for, and let's also just here.
We got to be technically sound on defense. Richardson's a real threat at running back. He, if you don't stay home on a read option, he can take it around the edge and get you. But they really have struggled for the most part. It's kind of timely. I think it's time to, like I said, for Utah to kind of open up the playbook and get back on track, because West Virginia hasn't shown to be, I don't want to say a viable opponent, but they're struggling this season so far.
Right.
But also, I'll look past it. There's been times when Arizona's been struggling under Rich Rod, and we're like, oh yeah, we should handle this Arizona team, and they came into Utah and whipped our trash.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try and overlook a game. Rich Rod's got history. I want to say he has the winning edge. He's he's 6-4 against Kyle Whittingham. So their styles can match up. When Rich Rod can get his high flying offense rolling, it can give a Utah style defense fits.
Yeah.
It's a bend but don't break. But when you're out there, as much as a Rich Rod air raid offense is, you break eventually once you run out of gas.
Yeah. Let's get real quick, just final score here. What do you think?
42-10 Utah.
All right, Vincent, quick final score. Who do you think's going to get the win?
Man, that's surprising right there.
That's
a little. I guess, Mr. Brandon, Utah's bouncing back in the back big way.
I just don't see anybody else controlling us in the trenches. Other than, like I said, BYU's the question mark. But watching West Virginia for the first 3 weeks, unless they 180 what they were doing on the defensive line and offensive line for that regard, I expect us to win in the trenches.
All right.
I say Utah 31, West Virginia 20.
My final score for this one, give me the Utes. Get everyone happy here. Final score 28-17. I'll go with Utah winning this ball game. Guys, this has been the debut show of the Big 12 Weekly Roundup. Thank you so much for tuning in, checking us out. Brandon Larson, Vincent Turner, great opening show here. And stay tuned. We got a bunch of great shows for the rest of the day. So today, locked in here on 100 Yards Football. Until next time, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.